Our human brain is the greatest computer on the planet Earth. AI, artificial intelligence, has been created having nervous system of the human body as a reference because they both work by the same principle. The gathering data, the input, analyzes through different perspectives, different challenges, experiences, and tendencies and patterns, and given the response, the output. All of this is connected to the Gemini energy. And in general, Gemini energy stands for the distribution of the information. Because this is the same energy which lives in the book which you read from someone wrote like 500 years ago of their dreams or their research. And you get information from there. This is the same energy which lives in the internet. This is the same energy which lives under the surface where the mushroom system brings the information to the trees and other, like to all the ecosystem. This is the same energy which lives in the words I love you, I miss you, things like that. Because all of the point of Gemini energy is spreading awareness on the personal level and on the collective. And so in this video, we are going to speak about the Gemini energy and the coolest sides, the most important things we need to know about this energy to kind of understand this life better, because this is the energy connected to our mental health. And if you want to be mentally healthy, it's really good to understand how this system actually works. Okay, so in this video, we'll talk about the 4 different things. First of all, we'll speak about the way how nervous system works, because it's highly important and you will understand why. And in the second part, we will talk about the specifically the duality, which Gemini stands for, this archetype of the twins. What is it about and why it's important for us? The third part will be about the Gemini placement in the chart, in the houses, in when the planet sits in Gemini. And the last part, we will talk about the mental health. We'll talk about the healing, the things connected to Gemini and to Mercury. So let's start from simple thing. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. We know that in Greek mythology, Mercury is connected to the god Hermes, which was the one who was wearing interesting boots with wings. And so he was flying from different realms, the godly realm, the human realm, and the underworld, to receive and to bring messages, to give messages and spread some information. Also, he stands for commerce and the things connected to making deals and negotiations and about, the merchandise, all the things around marketing, and when you are using your words to deliver some message or some idea. But also it can go from the perspective of the shadow side, like trickstery. And person manipulates, like uses words to manipulate into something. And when you know this kind of ways of pushing the right buttons. Also using, information in a not really healthy manner, like in a fake way, like propaganda, different rumors, lies and stuff like that. So this is a not nice side of the Mercury energy. When it comes what Mercury stands for in our body, this is our nervous system, our mental health, the side connected to thinking and logic, and also our digestion. Digestion is more about the Virgo, but Gemini energy is about nervous system and mental health, and also hands, by the way, and actually organs which has like pairs, like lungs. So when we think about this a little bit deeper, it's highly interesting, and do not skip this part because I really want you to hear this, because it's super, super important for each of us to understand this thing, how actually nervous system works and why do we actually make decisions this way or that way. So the main function of the nervous system is to gather data. So it means, like, for example, you touch something, and in this moment, the feeling which you get comes through the nerves in your brain, which is all built from neurons and neuron connections. And so the feeling which you just felt comes to your brain. Brain analyzes all million other type of this kind of feelings you had, and then it gives you output, the decision. So this is cold or this is hot. And this is interesting thing, that when we are children, this is why we are so curious. Again, Gemini energy, gathering information, because our brain grows that time. Our neuron connections working, they are building, and they are making brain bigger, because we are trying everything. We are smelling, touching, we are licking, we want to eat everything, we ask million questions, because Gemini stands for this, why, the curiosity to understand why. And this is what actually helps our brain to build data, which eventually brain uses to analyze different things. For example, it's not only for what we touch and what we ask. Also, this is the content we consume. For example, we watch movies, we watch different, shows, news. We can also see the way our close people, deal with something. For example, you see how your father deals with the car, and your brain remembers all of this and building the connections. Whenever we see somebody arguing, somebody dealing with conflict, somebody dealing with fear, whatever, any kinds of things we observe and we notice it and it influences us, it comes into our brain and builds connections. So, like, neuron connections build some specific way. That's why we are all so different, because our brain kind of built differently. It has the same functions, but inside the neuron connections are different. So when we understand this part, I want to give you an example. For example, you were offered to have a speech in somewhere, I don't know, like TED Talks, whatever, like something kind of huge. And when you make a decision to agree or not agree, there is some process happening in your brain. So, and I will right now show you exactly which process. I really please, if you hate math, because we will talk a little bit from the mathematical point of view, but if you hate it, if you don't understand, give me a chance. Just stay with me, be attentive, you will understand everything, but it's very useful information. You will like it, and I promise you it worth the attention. So imagine, when we are analyzing the offering of going and do some, public speech. For analyzing this, for making a decision, we use two input parameters. One parameter will be the level of the knowledge we have, which we want to share. And the second parameter can be, for example, the level of fear. And so when we analyze this, we can estimate each of these things by a scale from 1 to 10. And so I will talk about the specific example. I made it here and you will see it on the screen right now. So let's say if you are analyzing your knowledge, for example, as 5 from 1 to 10, let's say it feels to you that you have quite good information. Let's say it's you mark it as 5. And so the fear you have It can be, for example, the 0.7 from 1 to 10, when 1 is little and 10 is a lot. And so, how we actually merge these two to get the information? Here present, one important thing, this is coefficient. The coefficient of each specific process is the thing which has been built and created in our minds throughout different experiences and things which we, for example, observed, noticed, were taught. We saw how it happened with another people and with us. And so this is a kind of a big data our brain has, and also we experienced it somehow emotionally. And so according to the list of experiences we had, our brain has something like coefficient towards the subject we are talking about. So let's say for the knowledge throughout life, we have gathered the coefficient which is 0.84. And for the fear part, we gathered throughout our life the coefficient which is minus 0.96. And so what we do, stay with me, I know it sounds very ridiculous for now, but you will understand it, I promise you. So now you are multiplying what you think about your knowledge, like 5, on this coefficient. And we get the number 4.2. Then, when we do the same with the fear, we are multiply 7 and minus 0.96. And we get the number minus 6.72. And then when we have these two numbers, we put them together. And then we get minus 2.52. And so, when it's below 0, it's a no. When it's over 0, this is yes. So, according to this analysis, this person estimating their knowledge as 5, like quite good, but fear as 7, would not decide to go in the direction of going, for example, to do a public speaking or like sharing knowledge. Stay with me. It's still going. We will look at the same example right now. But when we have, for example, the knowledge 6, just a little bit more, not 5, 6 right now. And the fear right now will come to the 3. And so we're using the same algorithm, we're using the same coefficient, we are multiplying 6 with the coefficient of knowledge 0.84, and we are getting 5.4. The same we do with the fear. This is when we are multiplying 3 right now with the coefficient we gathered throughout our life minus 0.96, and we get minus 2.88. We put plus between these two numbers we have, and we get the number 2.16. So this is the yes. And now I want you to kind of realize that what actually influenced highly this kind of change, the coefficient. Because we may be afraid in the moment, but if in our brain there are no much crazy experiences, our coefficient would not influence us as much. And this is exactly why when we have traumatic experience, they are highly influencing our coefficient. This is why we stop being easy with sharing things which are important for us. We are afraid, for example, to communicate with some specific parts of people or perform somehow. We are afraid to be hurt somehow. I mean, the traumatic experience is a huge thing which makes a lot different and highly sensitive coefficient, which is influencing each our decision. Also, I want you to know here that this is how propaganda works, because they know that this is important to give us, to teach our brain some specific things which are building some specific connections of neurons in our brain, so that would influence our decision in future. Okay, now I want you to have a look on several examples in human history where the specific information actually kind of changed the human history in some way. And also, don't worry if the negative information is going to be super little. So, when we speak about the Hitler Germany, we all know the catastrophe which it all led to. But the guy was so obsessed with the belief that he can kind of build the perfect Aryan race and to take away all the second sort people like parasites, and so Jews were in this category. And so he was feeding for years with his huge speeches where people were mesmerized. Women were telling that they want children from him. I mean, imagine the charisma and the belief in all of these things. He made people, like thousands, maybe millions, believe that this is okay to kind of treat people like that and destroy. And so this superiority which built in the brains of the people by specific narratives he was saying was like the mirror of the inferiority the Jewish people faced and unfortunately had the consequences of what they had in their brain as a belief about themselves and their fate. Okay, the next example, we will talk about school systems. Because as we know, the school system, we all were in school, right? And remember how we hated to sit there for hours in that specific time of our lives when our brain is the most, it's like sponge. It wants new, different experiences, looking for different adventures, to explore, to enjoy life, to live. We are free from all of the, kind of theories, fears. We didn't have much experience when we are children, so that we are so open. We are so, kind of fearless in different directions. We trust everyone. We are naive because we don't know many of bad stuff which are going on in the world. We are very easy to try different things and learn fast. We learn languages, learn music, dancing, everything. I mean, this is a period which is literally used by the systems to build the soldiers which they need. I'm not saying in a military way. I'm trying to say, but that the system in school is built such a way that it forces us to come at which time they said and go back in okay, we learn discipline, but we are forced to do it. Nobody asks us if we want to do it this way. Also, it's about sitting in one place, all the time for hours, when it's really hard, when you are forced to consume the knowledge which you, for example, don't feel like do right now, and it's like a mix of them every day. Also, they are stealing our time after school by giving us homework. The marks, the system of going into competition, instead of teaching us how to collaborate, they are wanting us to pass the exam and to have that exact answer which they want. Okay, this is the right answer, but let's remember, it's very important for the person in the real life, in adulthood, to have a critical thinking. Do our school or universities, maybe universities does, but do our school kind of help us to ask questions, to look outside the existed theories? For example, things like failure also punished, but not taught. Like nobody's teaching us that you see what kind of mistake you did, what conclusions you get, and stuff like that. So it's more about, making us more compliant instead of making us independent human beings. Because the real things which we really need in life, it's emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, the relationship with people, understanding how our self-worth builds. Because not every child, like, it's very far from every child to go through this information in their families. Most of us, like not some, most of us has quite traumatic childhood where parents were not giving us enough of treatment in this direction. The most important things about adulthood is to, for example, help us to cook for ourselves, like practical stuff, things how to take care about our health in different ways, how to take care about finances, kind of things where it helps us to be mature when we finish school, when we are ready, for example, to live our life, communicate with people. In my opinion, we also need to learn very young in school traffic regulations, because I'm sure you notice when you drive how those terrified kids are actually crossing the road. I mean, they just don't know that they have prerogative when they're crossing, on this specific place, on this zebra. In my opinion, it's highly important to teach children to be very much connected to nature and to their own body and to animals. It's like when you are teaching this kind of wild part of you to still exist, but the energy would be directed in the right way, in the right direction. And so just think about it, like how important would it be for helping change our school systems to help children to build more healthy connections for themselves, for their life, but not just to be like a wheels in all of these like systems we have in the world. The next example, I want you to look at these pictures. I know you recognize them. So this is MAGAs, the Trump supporters, and the Putinists, the people who support Putin in Russia. So what's interesting about these pictures? You for sure notice kind of the sad part of their vision of life. And we obviously understand that something is not really good going on with their mental health when they are creating such kind of attitude and idealism. And to understand why it's actually happened, we can look in the simple psychology. And leaders like Trump and Putin, they literally use it. They understand this narrative. So first, they force people to live in such circumstances that they are very desperate to have, like, I don't know, some freedoms in life. You live literally humiliated by system, humiliated by bosses, humiliated by the salary, humiliated by politicians, on all kinds of levels. You're not feeling that you are actually kind of important, or you matter, something like this. And then you are giving these people something what they are most hungry with. You are telling them, but our country is almighty. We are the most powerful. We are the biggest. Or we can do this and that. We have nukes. We have power, And the guy who is dealing with this, their leader, he need to be in control and to make tough rules because this power has to be in somebody's hands, like metal fist. And and these people look at this and like, yeah, finally I get this feeling from inside. I have always been, kind of invisible, for example. And now somebody gives me this feeling from inside. I'm actually living in so powerful land, in this contrast of them living humiliated, like simultaneously, but by the same people. Was the same, the most interesting. In the same moment, they are fed, they are given the information exactly which they are so hungry about. This is how such cults are built. This is where the feeling of support is coming from, because they're not supporting any of the ideals. They are enjoying the feeling which is given by these people, and these people using these narratives to manipulate minds, to do whatever they want, to enrich, to help their friends to get rich, to do wars, to validate themselves by showing how many weapons all of them have. I mean, they have their interests, the leaders, but they know how to manipulate the minds of those who have the feeling of that they don't matter at all. Okay, the last thing I want to talk with you, the example connected to literature. The books is a very huge source for us to get the information. We are reading about the love stories. We investigate different stuff in detectives. We are jumping in adventures with different mythology or any Star Wars and stories connected to another galaxies. I mean, books help us to live through experiences in the places and circumstances when we never been, or when we never lived, in the time periods, or in some, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the ocean. I'm trying to say that books are incredible for broadening our horizons and to seeing life and understanding how many things work. But you have to always remember, for example, I know that many people in the Western world are fond of Russian literature. And I'm Ukrainian, by the way. I was raised at home with a very huge shelves with tons of those Russian literature, all of those classics. And of course, almost all my family, everyone was reading that. And the thing is that I wanted to understand one specific thing about the literature, which is coming from the dictatorships or regimes. The same as right now, every artist or poet, whoever, is creating something right now in Russia. Whatever you are doing, you are only able to publish it and to be seen and heard if you are supporting the regime. The people who were not supporting the regime and were opposing it through their art, they were executed. Those are stories from Ukrainian revolutionaries. I know you maybe don't know this about history and you think that this is proxy war of US and Russia, but I can tell you that we in Ukraine has very long story with them. It's like 400 years of them trying somehow in different ways to to suppress the energy of freedom, the spirit of independence. It has always been in our books, in our literature, in different revolutionary movements against Russian regime. It all were destroyed. People were destroyed like one way or another. Regime is letting the literature exist, only those which is not anyhow bringing any harm. Because the whole point of regime and dictatorship, this is the control covered in fear, or fear covered in control. And that's why I want you to know, when you are consuming things from the dictatorships, just know that you have to be careful with being mesmerized by what is going on over there, because it can be interesting for like historical point of view, like seeing what kind of vibes were going in that century, in that place on the planet Earth. But just remember that if that was allowed to publish, it means this author were somehow helping the regime to be alive. And I'm telling you this because I want you to be aware of the content you consume, because politicians using this. The same, this algorithm, I mean, this technique has been used in the fairy tales, in our, like, the mythology, throughout our history. Different tales to tell a child a story, so you would, by building the association or understanding or like the wisdom you're getting from it, this is what helps you to stay in your brain and to influence your decisions in future. The same religions are built, they are using the same algorithm. Marketing, they are using the same thing. They are giving us the stories, the same as religions. They giving us the stories which we put in our brain, and this is a part of us seeing reality. How they do, for example, promotion when they needed to promote the shapes, the blades for the human body. So they were talking about how beautiful and sensual and all of this, the desirable woman becomes when her body is all absolutely shaved, and so they are given this picture, and you look at this and you understand that the beauty is when you are all shaved, and then you go into the store and you see this blade and like kind of need it. This is what actually happening behind the scenes. When we are understanding how this works, the distribution of information, how it actually influences the society, you realize that you are the same as within our brain. We have this the neurons, like there are millions or billions of them. We are humans, we are neurons of the collective, and the quality and the information and the quality of the information of how we distribute and interact, it influences society. I want you to know it and always remember. And at this point, we will go to the next chapter when we understand the importance of the information, how it influences us, how to actually stay neutral. So this is where we come to the duality. Duality part of the Gemini energy is specific about having two things. I know that we have in astrology, in another science, like Libra also represents two things, but it's about balance between two of them. The Scorpio is about two things when it's a death and a rebirth cycle, when something has to die so another would be born. When we talk about the Pisces, the two fishes, it's about oneness. They actually represent, like, we are two, but we are all one. It's about the thing about merging. But the Gemini, this is where two separate individuals are present. So this is about saying that there are two. So the Gemini energy, the Gemini part is and. It's like one and another. They two need to exist simultaneously. So it's not about the point in looking for the balance between them, because there is interesting mythology about the constellation of Gemini. It was also in a Greek mythology when the woman was pregnant with twins, and one, I don't know how, but somehow Zeus, the Greek god, was the father of one, and the simple human was the father of another. And of course, when they were born, one was mortal, one was immortal. And by some circumstances, the one who is immortal, the one who is mortal dies, and the way they had a huge bond. They were like inseparables. They loved each other so much. And the one who was immortal went to his father, to Zeus, and asked him, please, like, can you bring him back to the life, or me to be mortal, to go on the world to spend eternity with him? And he was touched, and he said, okay. And so what he decided to put them two simultaneously in the night sky, so they will remain together forever. And so this symbolism shows this, like, two equal individuals coexist together. It's more like a team story. And I want to go into this deeper from different perspective. Let's say left brain and the right brain. It's very important when they both work properly to kind of to experience our human life fully. Also, it's about feminine and masculine. When feminine and masculine work properly, each of them, we are able to achieve a lot of things in life. Why? Because how it works. Feminine energy is about feelings. It inspires, so you are feeling something. Let's say you want to have a conversation with somebody, and you have a feeling, I want to say and share this and that. And then you act on it. Then let's say somebody is very happy to hear what you say, and you feel pleasure after the action you do. And then, for example, you feel good and you want to hug the person. So the masculine energy is about putting our energy into something, put like some action. If you want to go to take some food in the fridge, first you feel the feeling of hunger and you imagine like sandwich or whatever, and that's why you stand up and go to the fridge. So masculine energy, the action, needs direction, and direction is given by feelings. You see, feminine energy is about receiving, and if you are blocking your receiving part, so you don't believe you deserve to have, for example, great feelings or great prosperous things, like to have success or recognition or love or any kind of good emotions, it's very hard to act in some direction. So, for example, you don't believe that you can become, I don't know, rich. And so the actions which you are taking in this direction, they will also be in a suppressed way, because you do not have enough openness to receive what can come from the great actions. So you have very small inspiration to give to your action, and your action is very, like suppressed. So these two influence each other like extremely. And when we understand that both of them needs to be improved and taken care simultaneously, this is where we will live harmonious life. I want to give you another example of the duality. For example, when it comes to the dialogue between two people, the Gemini energy stands not for who is wrong, who is right, who is guilty, who is not. It's about the whole conversation itself. It's like the exchange which is flowing between two people, because they're getting something like an awareness about what is actually going on with another one. So let's say one person have some feelings, so it's like a problem in some relationship, and so they decide to talk. And one person says, I feel this way, and this what you said made me feel this way, and for me this is important. I cannot work, it cannot work for me this way, but I'm willing to hear your side also. Please share it to me, because I don't understand why it's okay to behave this way and that way. And another person, if we talk about this healthy form of communication, another person says, you see, For me, this is how I see it. This is what I feel. This is what's important for me. But I also hear you, you know, and I didn't know that it was like this for you. Right now, thank you for sharing, because now I understand that this is what makes you feel seen or heard or whatever. And so when two people have such communication where actually they helping each other to understand each other, this is where this kind of advanced Gemini energy is happening. Because when we see two sides, when we are open to see two sides simultaneously, this is where we can become actually objective and stay neutral without jumping into crazy feelings. The same, we can analyze many situations in our life, like I'm Ukrainian. My Ukrainians can suffer somewhere, for example, relocated. I understand why they decide to move away from Ukraine, why they're staying somewhere in foreign lands. I understand why. It's easy. But then when we hear, for example, some foreigners say something, oh, I'm so tired of the Ukrainians, they actually eating our taxes and stuff like that. I mean, it's not comfortable to hear this. But in general, I am also human and I understand. I don't know if in Ukraine would come millions of refugees and if they will be like everywhere, for example, putting trash somewhere, or I don't know, something annoyed that person to write such message and to see Ukrainians this way. Because people are not perfect. Sometimes you have bad experiences. And so you make bad conclusions. And when you have this understanding, you feel something like ease, because I can remain neutral, because I understand my Ukrainians who needed to relocate, but I understand foreigners who might be actually not very happy about it. And so I'm not saying that any of these sides are actually right. I'm not forcing you to see this one direction. I'm trying to say that the importance of understanding these two sides actually helps our brain like to be mentally easy, like to stay neutral about the subject. And this neutrality is coming from having these two things in your mind. It's whenever we are gathering knowledge, it's great to investigate different sides, because you're not going to be one-sided. You will have this, spectrum of vision. And this is the point of Gemini. This is the part of curiosity, because it wants to ask many questions to bring awareness to something. Because basically, Gemini energy stands for the bridge. It's being bridge between two. It's showing that it's important when two things exist. So this is where it works right. This is the duality part. Okay, when we speak about Gemini in the chart, look at which place, at which house. So analyze for yourself what this area in your chart stands for. And in this area, all of the things which we're just speaking about will be present. But basically, the Gemini part of our chart is always about we want to understand it. We wanted to understand it one way or another. We are super curious and interested how it actually works. Because Gemini, it's not a coincidence that the energy of curiosity and awareness is coming into this specific area in your life. Because it's important for you in this incarnation to dive into this subject, because it will help you somehow. The way how actually your Gemini will work, it depends from the quality of your Mercury. Look where Mercury goes in the chart, because it depends. It's very different when Mercury sits, let's say, with Venus. It's about, pleasant and getting pleasure through having your knowledge. Or Mercury sitting with Saturn, let's say, because it will give some complexity about the topic of getting knowledge or communication. Maybe you have some beliefs from the past lives that you are not knowledgeable enough, not smart enough. And so for you, it's always you question different things. You start you stuck into one concept because you afraid to jump in another. Maybe you don't trust yourself enough if if it's a good source, you know, all of this complexity coming when something is seriously huge influencing Mercury. Because Mercury is the way we kind of understand things, digest things. This is how we kind of operate with our minds. This is how we think, all of these things. And so the quality of Mercury always gives the quality of how in the place where Gemini and Virgo, everything is going. Also, if we talk about the part connected to duality, it can be several things present. In the fourth house, person not only studies different things connected to their inner world and emotions, maybe relationship with the mother, but also the person has, for example, two nationalities or two citizenship. And you know, it's a good example of duality, which doesn't have to be anyhow. It's like one period of your life you live in some place, and another period of your life live in another country with another citizenship, and you have like maybe life where it's when you're flying between these two countries. Also, if we talk about like 10th house, maybe it's a career which has some Gemini flavor. So either you work with data, you work with information, with words, maybe you work as a translator, maybe you work with as an accountant. Also, you can work with your hands. In the same moment, it can be multiple works. It's like maybe some work you have like what is like everyone has, and then you have something like a side hustle, whatever it may be. Also, it can be something where you are sharing information about this specific thing at work. Also, when we talk about the planets in the Gemini energy, how it works. So, Gemini shows how, and the planet shows what. Let's say Sun is what? It's how we shine to the world. And Gemini says how? Through talking, communicating, having million friends, and you know, sharing different interesting stuff, like being maybe very funny. Maybe you know you're doing stand up. You are the one who, I don't know, likes chatting. The one who expresses himself through the energy of the Gemini. And of course, such people can be like they usually kind of accused in being two-faced, because the way you shine to the world, it can be this way or that way, and it just depends on the where person in which specific area person is present. So it can happen. I would not call it just you know, this kind of bad side of two-faced personality, but there is a reason for person being like this. Maybe it's not advanced Gemini energy when you are kind of adapting, when you are already more mature about this expression. You are not afraid, for example, to, I mean, let's say like people who are on the stage, they act this way and then they act another way. So actually being an actor with this position can also work, because person can, you know, express themselves from different sides. When we talk about, I don't know, let's say Saturn in Gemini, Saturn's energy of maturity. How? So how is a Gemini? Your incarnation requires from you to mature in the direction of the way you communicate. Maybe you talk too much. Maybe you talk too little. Maybe the way you communicate with some specific people, it doesn't work really for you. Because it can maybe, like the way you understand communication, it can work for you to be as a boss at your workplace. But when you apply this same form of communicating with your friends, they're like, dude, like, calm down, you know? And so it hurts and it influences you as someone who is, you know, kind of good enough as building friendship. But actually it's about the communication part. Maybe you are not estimating yourself as smart. So your job is to become more mature in the direction of how you're gathering knowledge, or you just believe in everyone what, I mean, your best friend told you whatever rumors are lies, and you're just following that, and then you're spreading it more, and it's like it makes your reputation really sad, and you feel terrible about it. You know, Saturn wants maturity in the energy connected to Gemini. Also, when we talk about, I don't know, Uranus, some unpredictability comes through information. Something like, what? Oh my god, I didn't expect that coming. Or somebody told you something you didn't, I mean, what? Or something that expands your horizons extremely, or very like gives you interesting narrative. And that's like the kind of thing we will go into experience during the next 6-7 years till 2033. While Uranus is transiting Gemini, we will have a lot of different unexpected news coming on the personal and on the collective level. When it comes, for example, to the energy of Jupiter, it's about different kinds of philosophies and different wisdom. So you are interested in gathering different concepts, learning different things, so you are become wise by understanding, diving into different concepts. Also, it may be like you were born with one religion and you decided to kind of have another one. Also, it may be possible that you are being a teacher yourself, Jupiter energy, in different directions. So it might be like in the daytime you are the teacher at school, the geography teacher at school, and then at evening time you come and talk about conspiracy theories somewhere in YouTube, you know, sharing your thoughts and wisdom around that. So the planet says what, science says how, in this case Gemini's how, and the house says where. This is how they work. Okay, so when it comes to the mental health, it's simply about our nervous system estimates all our experiences on the constant basis, and it feels like safe or not safe. Do you feel like connected or isolated? Do you feel like some kind of reward or peace or joy after some process, or do you feel stressed? Do you feel in peace? Do you feel good, like let's say from some conversation or in some specific place, or do you feel like overload? So the thing is that when nervous system estimates processes like this, it reacts differently. And so the reaction, this is our hormones. So basically, if we hug someone we love, we are having the oxytocin, so we feel good and positive. And so it's helpful for our mental health. So it's like we are staying in more kind of relief vibe. In a minute, I will explain why relief is important. When we are estimating by nervous system that there is some, I don't know, specific danger, or some kind of fear comes, it reacts with cortisol. The hormone cortisol is coming to the blood to together with adrenaline to help us to be more focused. It's actually a good thing when it comes, for example, to like maybe you have a deadline or some performance, so something specifically important for you where you really need to be devoted and focused, because you know that you have, for example, 1 week for this specific project. And this is where it helps. But when it's on a constant basis, let's say a person lives in a very stressful environment, or a person lives like the colleagues and the whole work area is stressful environment. maybe close people, maybe person is living in like my country right now, it's in general the place where it's not that easy to stay at peace and feel relief. So you may stay like constantly in stress. So cortisol is keeping like jumping into the blood. And so what's bad about it? The thing is that when cortisol is kind of constantly present in our body, it gives it has like negative effect, and this is why we suffer. So actually it lowers the level of melanin, the one which is about sleep, because when your system is cautious, it's not easy to just kind of rest and relax and go into deep sleep. You are in a state that maybe you're like in a jungle, maybe you're surrounded by, I don't know, bad people, whatever. I mean, maybe it's I don't know, the weather is not fine and easy. You cannot just rest. Your body does not, its automatic regime do not let you stay kind of half dead. For this brain, it's important to keep you alive. That's why it's like, no, we're not sleeping right now because I feel that something is going on. So first of all this, then it influences the building of the specific proteins which are helping to build the connections in our brain. That's why we have some kind of memory issues or cognitive problems, because the overload of cortisol just literally influences these neuron connections, weakens those who exist, and does not help to build new. And so this blunt pieces, like parts, this is where our memory can, but when specifically like bad emotions appear, so this is what we see as a blind spots in our memory. Also, the constant high level of cortisol in the body, it influences the amygdala. This is the part which is connected to fear. And the part which is connected to fear, when it's constantly active, it keeps us anxious. And the thing is that when we are living like this, even slight dangerous situations or something that can cause some uncomfortable feelings, like add to what you already feel or experience, the person like overestimate it. So the person can run away from different opportunities, or like react too much, or the overreaction, because the place of fear is overworking on the constant basis. So when we understand the influence of keeping us in a constant stress, we understand that it's important to do different things which are actually helping our nervous system to estimate experiences as something easy and peaceful, because this is when our brain has the ability to rebuild, heal itself, and kind of this connection, like the neuron connections, these things they need for us to stay at peace, so they would have time to rebuild. Because when you are in stress, nervous system is focused on producing cortisol. It's like it's not keeping the focus on rebuilding, it keeps the focus on keeping you survive when you are in danger. And so the things which are highly influencing our mental health are connected, for example, to traumatic experiences, because it's like a huge thing, influence all our reality in general. Also, it's something connected to substance abuse. Of course, problematic sleep, because it does not give the opportunity to rest and rebuild. And as we already said, chronic stress and also isolation. This is when we remember about the Gemini energy. Gemini energy is light by itself. And the communication, like easy, funny, where you feel at peace with somebody, where you laugh, this is when you are healing. This is when you are helping your nervous system to stay at rest. And in general, also deep conversations, when you can like have the opportunity to talk what is going on inside of you. It's like when you feel heard by somebody else and you can let it all out. The same as tears, when we speak it out, that's why therapy is useful, because people start to talk about things which are going on inside. They take it all out. And when you are experiencing the deep conversation with somebody, you're actually experiencing the feeling of connection. And it also helps because it gives you more peace, because you feel seen. You're not alone. This is the point. That's why for us it's important to find like people who we can trust, people who we can share different things. Actually, it's important to look for the people who have similar interests to you. So you can start from communicating on the topic which is you share as a hobby, for example. And then if you feel like going more into kind of sharing more of your personal stuff, you can do it as well. So this is how friendship builds, and this is highly important for our mental health. Also, staying at nature, because in general, Mercury is the lord of all the greenery on the planet Earth. The forests, all the, botanic gardens, I mean, everywhere where you kind of hear the birds, you hear the leaves, a little of wind, and all of the sounds of the nature, they are healing. When the river is streaming, whatever, like where it's outside of the noises of the city. Because we are the same as animals. We always take care about animals, that we need to keep them in the natural habitat and stuff like that, outside of all of this concrete and craziness of the city life. But we also need it. We also humans. We also it's partly animals. We also need to stay in this wild nature, to walk barefoot, to hug trees, to talk with trees, to swim naked in different pools and natural waters, not pools where this chlor stuff like chemicals they put. So this is also great for our mental health. If you have an opportunity to have a little walk every day, do it, because it's really important, without gadgets. Okay, so the next thing which is great for the mental health is breath work, because when we are breathing, we are actually giving the vibration, which is also the same like purring of the cat, they're healing with vibration. You are doing the same when you are breathing specifically. Also, the meditation, extremely important, the same as a deep sleep. When we are meditating, we are literally disconnected from all of the mess in our head, and we are letting our brain to kind of rebuild itself. Meditation in general is great for, connecting to your own self and to the stillness within. I would recommend to find at least 5-10 minutes a day. For example, I do it before sleep. It's just cool, because when you did everything you need with all of this, kind of all of this stuff, you go in bed and you can sit in bed before sleep for like as much as you want, and you become more sleepy because of the meditation, because you're at rest in this moment, and then you go sleep really great. And the last important thing I would say here, this is meditation. Because aside of learning, communicating, spending time somewhere, listening to something, breathing, being with yourself, meditation is actually disconnecting from this, all of this, what is going on in your head. Find like 5-10 minutes, you can do it before sleep, for example, and learn the meditation if you don't know what is it. If you have an opportunity, go on meditation retreat for 7-10 days, like they're all over the world, somewhere in disconnected place where you don't use gadgets at all. You will notice how awesome, how clean, how fresh you feel after the long meditation. because it in general, like it literally helps us to calm down, because in this moment brain starts to rebuild itself. This is a great thing. And by the way, if you might be interested, a few years ago I created a channel, I will put the link down below, with different meditations. I created meditations when it sounds like sound bowls, and some natural sounds like waterfalls, different things like bonfire, and you can check it, or rain in the jungle. So I was sitting literally trying to check how it feels. Do I go into that state of meditation, like when it starts to be so like it's still? And if no, I changed something. So if yes, I remained it. And I had like 10, 5, I guess 20, 40 minutes, so you can choose for yourself. And any meditation you choose in general would be wonderful. Okay, I guess on this I will finish, and now you know how to be a healthy cell, the healthy neuron of the collective of the human race, and how to take care of your mental health and not be brainwashed by all of those systems. Okay, thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, go into the comment section, and I also do personal consultations. The link for the calendar is down below. Okay, see you in the next videos. Bye bye.